Hi, I'm Amanda Wood, and I have some studio tips for you today. Things that I've picked up along the way that help me out that nobody taught me in school. So, organizing my studio space has taken a lot of time, but it's been well worth it. I had to take some time to figure out what I was making, how I was going to make it, and what the workflow was going to be. And then it all came together after that. Storage is always important for artists, particularly sculptors. A lot of our work takes up so much room. So I found that with my work spread out all over the place, I didn't seem to be able to have a place to roll out my clay and sculpt. So getting these finished pieces and some other larger equipment out of the way has really sped things up for me too. Another thing that helps me in my studio is having this commercial kitchen sink. This sink's been great for speeding up my cleanup process. It's large, so I can fit some large equipment in there if I need to, and it's got Formica behind it that looks a little bit like stainless steel. So it's easy to wipe down, and I can just sponge everything off without worrying about damaging the wall, especially if I spray a lot of water. Then I'll have to be concerned with the sheetrock. If you wanted to create something like this for your own studio space, I bought this used, and it was really affordable. The only problem was the plumbing. That got expensive. But if you had a studio that you were wanting to revamp or build for yourself, then you could possibly get one of those laundry sinks. They're pretty affordable and easy to install from what I understand. Something else I've been getting some questions about is why I have these creepy mannequins in the background. And I've been finding them online on eBay pretty affordably. They just get shipped right to the house. I take them out of the box and put them together. And again, they're my little full-time sculpture models. I can't always hire somebody to come over and model nude for me. It gets a little awkward. Sometimes you can't find anybody that would want to do that for you. So sometimes I'll have my mannequin right next to me. I've just removed the top. And like I said before, I will often take calipers and go back and forth as I'm working to see if my proportions are all right. Like the neck is going to be this wide, and the shoulders are going to be this wide, and you can do things like, oh, this little dip right here in between your two clavicles. Maybe you want to go from the armpit to here to see if that distance is the same on your own sculpture as you're working. It's nice to have that. What I like about this particular mannequin is she's standing in contrapposto, and it's nice to have that as a reference point while you're working, because you can see where this line is as opposed to this line, and how the head tilts with that, and what happens with this neck muscle. You're going to get this one neck muscle that pops out more because it's balancing your head and holding your weight in a different direction there. As you can see, the hands are removable and you can unscrew them pretty easily, and it's nice to keep them right by your workspace while you're working and use them as a reference. You can measure things and follow where the knuckles, how far the fingers are spread apart, the fingertips and the nails. It's very nice to see this, and it can bring your work up to another level. Once you've trained your brain to understand all these proportions and get all this information embedded in your head, you can kind of get to a point where you don't really need to use them anymore. These styrofoam heads are great. You can find them at some of the craft stores, the larger ones. You can also find them online. Sometimes they're about $6 a piece. They're really, really affordable, and they have a lot of useful information. Like if you were to draw lines on them and maybe do reference points, like the top of the eyelid is very close to lining up with the top of the ear. You could draw a line from the bottom of the top lip. That lines up pretty closely with the bottom of the ear. The middle of the nose, it comes across this way. The break in the nose right here, just below the corner of the eye. And it helps you understand some of the proportions of things. Really very, very useful. And again, once you've got all this information down and it becomes habit for you, you won't need to use these anymore. Another thing that's really helpful to have in your studio if you're going to do figure sculpture is a large mirror like this. And mine is not on a stand or anything. I just leave it leaning up against either a wall or a shelf or something like that. I've left these little protective corners on here just so I don't
dig my foot on a sharp corner on the side of this wooden frame, something like that. It's nice to have these things because as a sculptor, we don't always have a full-time model to look at. In fact, rarely do we have something to look at as far as a live person where you can go up and look at what the proportions are in the shoulder relationship to the elbow and where it hits in with your hip and where the breast line is, top of the shoulder, the neck, that sort of thing. So I will often come and look and study and see where the muscles are as I flex my wrist, or if I'm moving my shoulder up on one side in a contrapposto, it's nice to see what those angles are doing in the muscles, that sort of thing. Just like in a small mirror that I'm going to show you later, and with the mannequins that I use, so that helps with things like that. You'll want to see where your legs meet and where the joints are, what the proportions are there. It helps a lot to see that. So go throw some shorts on or some boy shorts on and squat, sit down, kneel on your knees. You can even take a picture of yourself, put it on your computer, print it out, or use it on your iPhone or whatever little tablet, some sort of an iPad. A lot of people use those. They take pictures of themselves and then blow them up on the screen. And sometimes they'll crop in on a certain area. That's really helpful to be able